Hey there, it's Chris Trimble again. I'm coming at you from the lovely campus of Dartmouth College. And today I'm joined by Bert Fichman. Bert is an anesthesiologist at the pain clinic at Dartmouth Hitchcock Medical Center. I'm talking to Bert today so that he can share his experience running a group discussion about how Stella saved the farm. Just to be completely clear, Bert is here to talk about his individual experience and is certainly not making an endorsement on behalf of his organization. But first of all, Bert, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome, Chris.
And Bert, you and I first met as a part of the Masters in Healthcare Delivery Science program here at Dartmouth, and then you chose to get your team to read the book. Can you tell us first a little bit about who's on your team?
Okay, well, I work in the pain management section of the anesthesia department at Dartmouth Hitchcock, and the people that I included in the group were the administrator for our section and for the department, as well as the chief clinician and the other attending clinicians in the department, as well as some fellows that are training this year.
And Bert, terrific. What made you decide that you wanted to have a discussion about this book with your team?
Well, when we did the innovation section in school, I really felt that material resonated with me in terms of how do you innovate even on a small scale. And I really found some of the concepts really intriguing and seemingly intuitive, but really the way you presented them, it was really a formula to innovate in a way that can actually make a difference. So when you came out with the book, and were looking for people to talk about it with their group, I said it was a great idea, and I thought it would be a great discussion for our crew.
I'm imagining normally when you get this group together, you're talking about some pretty heavy medical topics. How did your team react to the idea of having a discussion about a story about farm animals?
Well, they've been sort of watching me for the year and a half while I was in school, and they sort of, they were interested, rolled their eyes a little bit. Then I showed them the book with the cartoons on it, and they, sort of smiled and took the book and put it away, and it got put on the schedule. And I didn't really hear much until we were a few days away from actually having the discussion.
What did you start hearing at that point, a little bit before the discussion?
Well, people really liked the book. Guess I shouldn't be surprised because I enjoyed it, but everybody that had read it really enjoyed it, and they were all getting a little paranoid when I was telling them about. They wanted to know how I picked the characters that they would represent in the story. They all felt I was picking them for sort of character traits that they had. But
well, you used the technique that I suggest on the website for running a discussion, which is to instigate an argument about who really saved the farm. And one thing you can do to heat things up a little bit is actually tell people in advance that they'll be asked to make an argument for a particular character. So it sounds like people thought there was a certain undertone or a certain underlying message in your selections of who got to represent which character.
And I think that really that's a good hook. I think people really got sort of drawn in by that, so that works.
How did you actually spend the time in the meeting, Bert? How did you run the discussion?
I pretty much did it as you suggested in the outline, and I opened it up by asking each individual, who saved the farm, and and from the point of view of their character. And I really didn't have to do much to get it going. It just sort of flowed, and it was I was really pleased and surprised how people just went around the tables, from one to the next, and they all gave their answer. Most of them felt, I think, I got the impression right away that it was a group effort, but it really brought up a lot of other issues for our department and the hospital, and so it raised a lot of good issues that we never really discuss. As you said, we're usually talking about patients or practical issues and day-to-day things, and this sort of elevated it to a little more philosophical approach.
It's great to hear that you took some time in the meeting to talk about your own organization. Was there perhaps one or two key takeaways that you can share with us from your discussion?
Well, I think one of the key points was how there are different inputs, that there are people have different strengths, and to innovate, you need a lot of different types to do it. So that was one issue, and then the other one, which was sort of somewhat tangential to the book, was how much can you innovate given your resources? Mm-hmm. And that was out of your lecture, which I brought in about type X, Y, and Z mm-hmm. Innovations, and I think those were really the big takeaway points, and people wanted to talk more about it. At the end, we decided to have we're going to have a retreat and talk about some of these ideas that just sort of flowed from the discussion around the book. So it was really I think fruitful.
Bert, terrific. I'm so thrilled to hear that you're going to be continuing the discussion at a retreat. Maybe I could ask you one last question, is that would you share any advice to anybody else who's going to run a discussion with their team?
I think it's a good idea to assign characters. I think it's a good idea. I didn't really give people too much information ahead of time, other than just to, this is where I got the book from, and why I thought it would be interesting to talk about innovation. And I think in medicine, it really, we don't think about these things systematically, mm-hmm. and so it was everybody was very excited. I think we're starved in medicine to, look at things from a different approach. So I think the book really speaks for itself, and it's an easy read and it's fun. So,
Bert, I can't tell you how much I appreciate your joining us today. Thanks so much for sharing your experiences with Stella.
My pleasure.